Hi guys, um, this is another video on spiritual thieves, spiritual robbers. The first video was received quite well, so I thought I would do a second part, a bit of a deeper dive into spiritual robbers. You're going to hear me go back and forth saying spiritual robbers, spiritual thieves. What are spiritual thieves? They are demonic spirits, ungodly spirits, dark spirits, the enemy that are on an assignment to steal from you. So everything the Lord has poured in, they are there to make sure it's drained out, poured out. So the heights you should have reached, the marriage you should have been in, those jobs you should have gone to, the people that you have meant to have evangelized to, the difference that you should have made, the person you should have become, that they have stolen from you, the years that they have taken from you. Those spirits are working an assignment to leave you with nothing, to leave you with nothing, to leave you not accomplishing the will of God in your life, to leave you in a state of hunger, stagnation, backwardness, no progression ever. Everyone else around you is moving forward. You try it, you just you take 2 steps forward only to take 10 steps back. Okay, so what I want you to realize before we dive deeper into this is I want you to realize that nothing happens without God's permission. God has allowed your life to be the way it is. He's allowed the witchcraft to work on you. He's allowed the generational problems to happen with you. God fully is aware of what's happening to you. Now, God did not orchestrate this. It was never his will for you to be born into witchcraft, for you to engage in witchcraft, for you to be married to a warlock, for you to be without lack, in poverty. That was never his will for you, but he definitely allowed it. And you could be thinking to yourself, but why would God allow such a bad thing to happen to me? Like why would he just sit back and watch me suffer like this? He's supposed to be a good God. Now he is a good God. He is a good God. Good God. But you also have to understand that there are seasons in life, and those seasons are there for a reason. If you look at the story of Joseph in Genesis, especially Genesis 39, after he was sold into slavery by his brothers, he was under the, shall I say, supervision, sold to Potiphar, that is the captain of the guards of Pharaoh. And now he was in a very horrible situation. He didn't need to be there. However, him being there, he still saw the favor of the Lord. And God said it and it says it in the Bible that God allowed him to succeed in everything he put his hand in, even though he was in a very horrible situation that he didn't deserve to be there. But God's hand was still with him and he was still seeing success. Our version of success and the Lord's version of success are very, very, very different. We accumulate success to material gain, material wealth. God doesn't see it that way. God looks at the heart, while man looks at the car. So even in that situation, God was allowed him to be sold. He allowed him to be a slave. He allowed him to get accused of rape. He allowed him to go into prison. He allowed all these things to happen to him. And after 2 years, after he had been in prison and was released after 2 years, he then, because he interpreted the dream for Pharaoh, he was only then did he become the second in command in Egypt. Now, Egypt back in those days was ruling the world. That was not a little boy country, and he became second in command. Do you know how big he was? Well, the world went into famine. The entire world went to Egypt to get food. From who? From Joseph. You see, the period of his life from the time that he was sold to the time that he was ordained to be the second in command, it was they said from 17 to 30. How many years is that? It's 13 years of his life that you could say he lost. 13 years of his life that God allowed him to be suffering in prison, a slave. But God was with him all the way. God allowed that to happen to him because what came out the other end was beautiful. If you go to Genesis 50:20, it says, you intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives. You see, sometimes these fruits that you need, these fruits that will come to you from being saved, if you don't have those fruits, you can't feed God's sheep. But how are you also going to get those fruits? How are you going to be able to manage this fruit? How are you going to be able to if you don't suffer to get it yourself? Me making this video right now, this is me bearing my fruits right now. You're seeing the fruits of what I've been through. This is why I'm able to explain, relate, help, teach. Why? Because of what I've been through. I've had years of my life that I have lost, completely gone. The enemy stole. I've had pregnancies that I've lost. And when I was in my deliverance, when I was still going through my it wasn't when I was going through my deliverance stage, it was last year. Last year, we're forgetting. I had a dream and the Lord actually said to me that I am, this is not word for word. He said like, I am taking you back from a reprobate mind. When I heard that, I didn't know what a reprobate mind was. So I got up in the morning, I was just like, a reprobate mind, what is that? You hear about it in the Bible, like the Lord will give you up to a reprobate mind. I didn't know what that actually meant. So I Googled it, went into the word, and I was just like, When I was 35 years old, I had a dream. And in my dream, I fell off my balcony. And when I fell off my balcony, I kept on falling. So it's like my body hit the ground in my dream, but I kept on falling, and I kept on falling, and I kept on falling, and I kept on falling. In that dream, I was in hell. I could see my daughter in my dream, but I could only see her through a TV screen. I remember that. Everybody around me in that place, it was like I was in a conservatory. And that conservatory was dark. There was no lights on. Everybody was just, they had been there for decades, not years. Everyone in there, they had been there and they weren't leaving. They were just pacing up and down in darkness. Just imagine being in a room. Just imagine like being in this room here, just pacing up and down. And it's completely dark. That was where I was. Nobody spoke to me. It was pitch black, but I could still see people moving up and down. And then I remember in the corner of the room, I saw a TV, one of those old school TVs with the big backs, the ones like in the 90s when I grew up. It was like a 14-inch, a small one, and I saw my daughter and I saw my sister. They were celebrating a birthday, they were happy. And I was trying to reach through the screen like this. And I remember this angel came next to me and said, "It's too late." And I was crying in the dream and I said, "Just let me speak to her for 2 seconds. 2 seconds. I said, "I understand. Just give me 2 seconds." And they said, "No, it's too late." I woke up. I was in hell. I went to hell. And I knew I was in hell. I knew the lifestyle I was living when I was 35. I was a liar. I was a manipulator. I was making money in such a demonic way. I was living a double life. And I knew I went to hell. And fully was aware. I wasn't saved at 35. I was fully aware I went to hell. Did I change? No. I carried on. And then as all these things were coming back to me when I heard God's voice last year, I realized that He had been trying to save me. I was not taken to God's word. You see, I was one of those Christians that, my mouth was full of Christ, but my heart was very far from it. He gave me up to my sin. That was what it meant when He said, "I give you up to a reprobate mind." He gave me up to my sin. He gave me up to my sin. to my wayward lifestyle, to my double lifestyle. He gave me up to it. And only when I was called back later on down the line, then I was like, I'm taking you back from there. Where now, because now I'm living a life of complete obedience and complete surrendering and submission to the Almighty. So he's taking me back from there. You see, when so many revelations started coming out, I was born into witchcraft. My grandmother and my mother, my family, they dedicated me to Oshun. They dedicated me to these water spirits in Nigeria. They gave me up as the firstborn. I've lived a life as a little girl where I was always tormented. I was always tormented. Very unfair life. I didn't ask for half the things I've had. Pregnant as a teenager. I've lived a very horrible life. I have. And when God starts to, you see, when you get saved and you go through your deliverance process, while you're going through this journey, the Lord will, it's like he's in front of you, he's stitching your puzzle together, and you're seeing why that happened, when that happened, what happened because that happened, and so forth and so forth. When the picture starts coming together, I was full of hurt. Not only because of my family members, but because he actually allowed it to happen. Like, you saw me suffering. You saw it. You saw the decision I made because of the situation I was in, and you weren't stopping me. But the Lord will also come, and he will also, what's the word? He will also turn your heart, it will also turn your hardened heart into a heart of flesh. Firstly, to forgive those around you, because they themselves, they are tormented by the enemy. But also, the Lord will allow you to realize that because of all that you have been through, to where had you not been through that, you wouldn't be able to be who you are today. You wouldn't be able to make the decisions or be in that position that Joseph was for the second in command to Pharaoh in Egypt. You wouldn't even be able to reach half of that height had you not suffered, had you not been in the trenches. Now I'm just like, yeah, but look, there could have been other ways. And you know what? Maybe there could have been. I'm sure there are. But this is the way that it stuck. This is the way that it scarred me so much to the point whereby I am definitely and will forever live a life of obedience to Christ. Even when I don't like what he's telling me to do. Because I know that it will work out in my favor. And the years I have lost, the Lord will restore them. It says it in the Bible. You see, your spiritual blessings are in accordance with your gift. The enemy is going to go after what the Lord has poured in. So whatever talent it is, whatever gift that you have that will draw people nearer to Christ, the enemy is going to go for that. Not to sound boastful right now. I'm going to sound kind of boastful what I'm about to say, but I have never had a problem attracting people. Attracting men, attracted women. This has never been a problem I have personally ever faced in my life. And I know that I'm someone that people like to listen to. I know I am someone that my presence, it commands in a room. I'm very aware of that when it comes to, I'm very aware of that. Like, you know, even for me to sit down here talking to you right now, this isn't just coming from the top of my head. I mean, yes, the majority is the Lord is speaking through me, but I have my notes here as well. You know, I study a lot. You know, I got a Bible here as well. You know, I'm a very prepared person. I take my time when I do things so that I can do to the best of my ability. And all of these skill sets that I have, I was using it for the kingdom of darkness. So now I will now try to speak to people to teach people the word. I was teaching people demonic doctrines before. Now I never did witchcraft. I'm not doing no spells and potions and incantations. That was never ever me. No. However, the lifestyle I was drawing people to was very demonic. The lifestyle I was drawing people to were the things you see in music videos. Things that don't glorify God. You know? I don't want to be too explicit. I'm not going to be, but if you can use your imagination with what I'm seeing, if you're talking about rappers, you know, when you see hip hop videos and certain things that girls are doing, you know, certain things that people are putting, you know, in their bodies that it shouldn't be. Yeah, I'll be the person that facilitates all of those type of things. That was me. This was I lived a double life where I would be hi in your face and behind the scenes, like wherever you need, I can supply. That was really me. So people will come to me for bad things. People will not come to me for good things. And I was teaching other people how to get those bad things. That was the lifestyle I was living. And I could do it so easily. Like I didn't even have to think. So it's like your spiritual blessing, the blessing is what he will taint. That gift, that's what he's going to poison. So what should be a blessing when you're going to turn it into a curse? And that is what he comes to steal from you. Because these things were put into you even before you were made. Before your mother knew she was pregnant. Before your mother was even born to even born you. Those gifts, everything, they've been aligned, they've been assigned, they've been set in stone. And the enemy came and it tainted it, poisoned it, removed it. We didn't remove it. But he definitely delayed it. When you are in these situations and the Lord delivers you, I'm so thankful. I will never stop giving God the glory for delivering me and for even now giving me the power to even do deliverance myself. But he had to teach me when it came to spiritual thieves, you must pray from a place of victory. You must pray from a place of victory. You must not pray from a place of surrendering to the enemy. You must not pray from a place of accepting this lifestyle, accepting the loss, being okay with it, or just asking if it's possible. No. You need to pray as though you've got those years back. You're 40, he stole 20 years, you're now 20, you're back to being 20 years. You need to pray from being 20 years old. Pray from that place. Don't pray from the place of being 40 and being defeated. Pray from a place of being 20 and being hopeful. Pray from there. You pray that the altar that has risen, that's sending these arrows of spiritual thieves, that altar will be broken. The blood of Jesus that brings life will bring death to that altar. You pray from that place of victory. You stand 10 toes down and you command those spiritual thieves to leave. You have every right to do so because those thieves are not supposed to be there. They're not supposed to be there. They're not. They were never supposed to be there. You see, the Lord said he will restore the years. It's a promise. God said he will restore the years that the locust has eaten. He's going to restore it. That's a promise. So he's going to restore the years of when lust stole your life. Lust took your life away. Infirmity took your life away. Abandonment took your life away. Rejection took your life away. Backwardness took your life away. Stagnation took your life away. Delay. All of the years that was taken away from you, where you were in blindness, where you were in darkness, where you didn't even know that you were a willing participant to your own demise. Oh, he's going to restore them. He says he will restore. God doesn't talk and it doesn't come to pass. When God speaks, it's going to come to pass. It's going to come to pass. But how do we start to activate this? You need to learn how to be obedient to God even when you don't feel like it, even when it's inconvenient. When you're going through a delivery process, you're going to have to learn to be really, really obedient, because He's going to put you in positions that you have never been in your life. He is. You see, when you're a babe in Christ and you're asking God or talking to God, He will answer you. He will answer you, speak to you in a dream, speak to you in a vision. You would hear His word. You would have a knowing. Somebody else will come and speak to you. There's some things that you're going to ask Him that you're going to hear nothing. Don't take that as a yes, and don't even take that as a no. You take that as a sign to dive deeper into His word. You take that as a sign to dive deeper into your prayer life. You take that as a sign to hear Him more. You see, the Lord is pruning you. It's just like how babies come, babies have milk. A 5-year-old can't still be drinking SMA milk that she was drinking when she was 5 months. Now she's eating steak. She's eating potatoes. She's eating carrots that are raw, where she has to crunch. She's advanced. You also have to advance with you also have to advance as well. You can't just be a babe. You can't just be drinking milk. You need to eat meat. How are you going to eat meat? How are you going to strengthen your teeth? How are you going to get ready? When it comes to the word of the Lord, you need to go in deeper. Because the Lord's going to even reveal to you where you have thieves, where you don't even know. You wouldn't even think that's a thief. That's thief. Like, what? I remember I remember I had there was like a little scratch I had on my ankle. And I remember I didn't take notice of it. But I remember that every time it was itching me, when I would go and scratch it, that my skin would break. Didn't think about it. Then I'll put like Vaseline or whatever, But I just realized that every time I touched my ankle, it's as though that little sore doesn't ever heal. And why doesn't this ever heal? Or why is it like it's healed today? It's gone. It's healed today. I touch it. It's bleeding again. It was a little tiny scratch. It wasn't a big deal. If I was wearing a skirt, you wouldn't even see it, but I could always feel it. I prayed on that wound. Very tiny scratch. I prayed on it. You know it's gone now, right? You know it's gone now, right? The Lord will show you have thieves in places you don't even realize. Let me give you one more example. So I went for a job. I work in filming. I went for a job and then was given the job. And then they were like, yeah, we want her. They liked me. It was good. It's just like a little trial basis. And I had a dream. I saw my auntie I hadn't seen in years. I saw her in my dream and I was greeting her. The next day, they told me they didn't want me to come back. Nothing had happened. I hadn't done anything. I ain't said anything. Everything that happened on Monday will still happen on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I was just thinking, what? And then the Lord showed me, see that dream where you saw your auntie that you hadn't seen? My auntie's still alive, by the way. I embraced her. I hugged her. Masquerading spirits that came. It was the spiritual thieves that took the job away from me. They took the job away from me. And then God allowed me to clock that every time something was happening in my life, and I'd always see like, not that specific auntie, no, but maybe aunties I hadn't seen in a hot minute, or people I hadn't seen in a hot minute. I'm like, oh God, I just saw auntie in my dream. Oh, maybe I'm going to see her soon. I never saw auntie in my dream. I saw a spiritual thief in my dream that was coming the next day or the next week to take away an opportunity from me. When the Lord made that revelation to me last month, oh my days, I went in. And then the Lord blessed me. A week later, I was able to find a new job. We give God the glory. So the Lord will show you where there are spiritual thieves where you don't even realize. because you've just become so accustomed to loss, or you've just been accustomed to a lifestyle that God never gave you. So that's why I said you have to be obedient. Because once you're obedient, the Lord will start to open doors. There's a ripple effect. Because if you're obedient, He's like, okay, cool, I can trust her with this. I can continue trusting her because you're walking in alignment with the Lord's will. You're no longer walking in alignment with your own will. Because what does the enemy do? He comes to kill, steal, and destroy. That's the only thing he comes to do. He doesn't come to play with you. He comes to kill, steal, and destroy. That's what he comes to take away what the Lord has put in. The aim of the enemy is to keep you looking at your physical losses. See, now I could have looked at the woman that told me, oh, I don't need you anymore, and hated on her. I could have done that. I could have looked at all the men back in my past as well. As I mentioned in my last videos, I could just never make it work if I hated on them. See, the enemy wants you to focus on them. Don't focus on the spirit behind it. Don't focus on that. You are fighting a spiritual battle. You're not fighting against the men that leave you. The boss that told me not to come back. I wasn't even fighting against the sore on my ankle. You're not fighting against the physical things around you. You're not fighting against the physical realm. You're fighting against the spirit behind it. That's what you're fighting against. Because everything around you is temporal. But you see, the things of the spirit, they're eternal. That's who you're fighting. So when you have things like your kid, you and your kid's relationship, it's just like 1 minute we're good, next minute we're bad. Don't fight the kid, you fight the spirit that is influencing the kid. You don't fight the things around you. Nothing around you do you fight, because the enemy wants you to focus on the person, or to focus on that job you can't make work, or to focus on that child that keeps on misbehaving, focus on that car that you keep on taking to the mechanic, focus on your man that keeps on cheating. You shouldn't be with man that keeps on cheating. Focus on the things that you can physically see with your 2 eyes and hear with your ears. They want you to focus on that. They don't want you to focus on him, or to focus on the spiritual realm, because once you focus on the spiritual realm, trust and believe he's going to be evicted, and he knows that, and he ain't trying to come to get me. That's why he will come to you, just like as he did with me in my dream, as my auntie. People I know, people I'm familiar with. I can hold on to that. I'm thinking, oh yeah, I'm going to see my auntie soon. I ain't seen the auntie that I saw since I was a teenager. I ain't seen her since I was a teenager. But I'm going to be holding on to some false hope. It was not my auntie. It's not my auntie at all. So how do we defeat this? You do not come after the things that are being robbed from you. The physical things. Don't come for those things, because the enemy will use everyone around you as an instrument to your demise. You come for the spiritual realm. You come from the altar. You bring down the altar that's risen in your family, in your bloodline, your generation, the one that you have risen yourself. You break down that altar that's sending these demonic thieves. You break it down with everything inside you. You pray from a place of victory. You pray from a place that you've already won. You've got those years back. You've got it back. You've got your victory back. You've got your fruit back. It's all back to you. And you stay obedient to the word of the Lord. God bless you.